All right, I'm sure this video is going to make some people angry in the comments, so let's just start with the biggest name on the list of the most overrated 2024 rookies in this class. Starting first with Florida State running back Trey Benson. And look, I think Trey Benson is a solid running back. I really do. But I have consistently seen him talked about as a top 3 running back in this class, if not even a lot of people's RB1 in the class, and I just do not get it. After 2 rough years at Oregon after a horrible knee injury as a freshman, he transferred to Florida State in 2021 and immediately became the Seminoles RB1, rushing for almost 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns on 154 carries. He then followed that up in 2023 with 900 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns on another 156 carries, while also adding 200 yards and a touchdown through the air. These are very solid numbers for a team's RB1, especially when he's also playing with a more mobile quarterback that vultures touchdowns inside the 10. But that's all that Benson really showcases statistically, just very solid average numbers over 2 seasons with no real growth. That was actually one of the issues that I had with Tank Bigsby last year that I learned from Isaiah Spiller the year before, both of whom were really solid backs over their careers in college, but never displayed growth statistically year to year. And because of Benson's lack of growth, he's currently grading out as one of the worst running backs in this class based on my marker system, which is just a series of baselines or check boxes that I want prospects to hit coming out of college based on what other successful NFL running backs had coming out of college. And right now, Benson only hits on 2 of my markers, weight and career yards per carry. After the combine, I'm pretty confident that he'll hit markers for 40 time and speed score, so that brings him up to 4 out of 10 markers, which puts him right in that range of Tank Bigsby, Isaiah Spiller, Trey Sermon, Zamir White, Benny Snell, just to name a few more recent names. And actually the best name out of these comps for Trey Benson is David Montgomery, which I do believe highlights the ceiling that Trey Benson could reach in the right offense and with an immediate workload. But if David Montgomery is the low probability best case outcome and the more medium outcome is a really strong handcuff with the possibility to be a team's RB1B, why are we ranking him as a top option in this class when you have so many other great names with way more upside? And don't get me wrong, I watched the tape. He was one of the first guys that I started watching because of the massive disparity between my analytics ranking and the film watchers rankings. And I really like Trey Benson's film. I like it a lot more than the numbers do. His speed is the first thing that you see, probably a low 4.4 or even high 4.3 runner. He has the frame to be an every down back, but he's also able to squeeze through holes that his line gives him and get to that second level very, very quickly. And he's also a solid receiver out of the backfield as a dump off option for his quarterback. Believe me, I saw all of that on film, but if he is that good of a running back, why didn't he get more work from year 1 to year 2 at Florida State? Why did his efficiency drop from year 1 to year 2 at Florida State, despite the team as a whole performing a lot better? Why was there no growth statistically from 2022 to 2023? I have no problem with Trey Benson as a solid mid to late second round rookie pick if he lands in a great situation on day 2 or even early day 3, but any higher than that as a top 3 or even top 2 running back in this class as a borderline first round rookie pick, then I'm out on potentially Trey Sermon 2.0. The second most overrated player in this class, and I'm so sorry to be picking on Florida State today, but I just can't get on board with Keon Coleman either as a potential top 10 pick in Superflex rookie drafts. I understand the massive upside that Coleman has because of his insane athleticism with a monstrous frame. He can make those disgusting aerial catches all over the field while also being a massive threat after the catch because of that insane athleticism and very good speed, but he just doesn't have the production analytically to back any of that up with. His career high in receptions is 58, his career high in receiving yards is 798, but he is a touchdown machine with 18 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. In fact, here's some really wild analytical stats about Keon Coleman. This is about to get really nerdy with a bunch of numbers, but bear with me here for a second. Keon Coleman has a 19-year-old 20% breakout age and a 20-year-old 30% breakout age, which are both fantastic numbers. Those are the same ages as Malik Neighbors and Troy Franklin, and actually had an earlier 30% breakout than Rome Odunze. All fantastic numbers. It's what you want to see from a wide receiver coming out of college. But the issue is those breakouts are being skewed by his touchdown efficiency, which is heavily carrying his lack of receiving yards efficiency. And despite having 2 seasons in a row of 29% and 32% dominator ratings, he never topped 2 yards per team pass attempt once in his entire career, which seems almost impossible given the dominator ratings that he put up. So much so that only 5 other receivers have ever done that in their college career since 2001. Keenan Howry, Dominique Ziegler, Aaron Dobson, Dorial Green Beckham, and Auden Tate. And those last three specifically are super interesting names because they were also big-bodied receivers who relied on touchdowns in college. And Dorial Green-Beckham and Aaron Dobson were both athletic freaks as well for their sizes. And it's just coincidental that Auden Tate also came out of college from Florida State. But that's what's scaring me about Keon Coleman, is that he essentially operates as an athletic tight end and can be a huge, very friendly target for his quarterback, especially in the red zone. He's an extremely raw route runner. He doesn't have the technique to create separation from his defender, which leads to him having to make those acrobatic contested catches that he does all the time. He's also slow getting out of breaks, and he takes unnecessary steps on breaking or comeback routes to turn his body around. It's just a lot of stuff that I would like to say that you can teach at the next level, but it scares me that he's gotten this far relying on his size and athleticism, and that's not going to work in the NFL. But again, I see the upside. I see why people comp him to DK Metcalf, a very similar player coming out of college who was able to make an impact immediately and is now being valued as a top 20, top 15 dynasty wide receiver. But I also see why people comp him to Quentin Johnston and have already begun labeling him as the bust at the top of this year's wide receiver class. Me personally, I think he's somewhere in between Miles Boykin and Martavis Bryant, which means that I just won't be drafting any Keon Coleman in the first round of rookie drafts this year. And the last name that I have to talk about, and I don't even know if he can be considered overrated because he's not a top guy at all this year in anybody's rankings, but he just seems to be everyone's favorite later round wide receiver, and that's Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. Honestly, I just don't get it at all. In fact, you want to know how many markers McConkey currently hits on out of 16 markers I look at for rookie wide receivers? It's 0. He doesn't hit a single one, which honestly might be more impressive than hitting on all of them. It's like if you were to predict the winner of every NFL game during some random week in the season and you ended up getting all of them wrong. Like, how is that even possible? You didn't even get one? He doesn't hit on any market share baselines, no yards per team pass attempt baselines, no fantasy points per game baselines, and he doesn't have a breakout age because he didn't break out at all in college. So depending on what happens at the combine, McConkey will at best come out with 4 markers hit, but honestly, I don't even know if he's going to get to 2 because I don't know if his 40-yard dash is going to be good enough at his current size. I actually tweeted out the list of wide receivers since 2001 who got drafted in the NFL with under 2 markers hit. The best name on this list by far is Ted Ginn Jr., and I don't even know who the other 75% of these names are. And then you get to the 3 most recent names in Ryan Switzer, Daz Newsome, and Kyle Phillips. Which honestly, Kyle Phillips is probably the best comp for Ladd McConkey overall, and he has 259 career receiving yards in 2 seasons in the league. Ryan Switzer, another scrappy white guy, 321 career receiving yards in 3 seasons in the league. I think you're hoping that Ladd McConkey turns into Hunter Renfrow, who again only has 1 season in the league over 650 yards, and that 1 season came in year 3 on a team that was completely devoid of talent at wide receiver. So Hunter Renfrow was really the only option on that team. Oh, and he was on waiver wires in a ton of dynasty leagues heading into that season. I know that because I picked up a bunch of Hunter Renfrow in a ton of dynasty leagues that year. So again, I'm not really sure if you can consider a 3rd round rookie pick to be overrated, but I've seen some really wild takes about McConkey and a bunch of buzz about how much of a value he's going to be this year in rookie drafts, and I just don't see it. I think that you're lighting a draft pick on fire if you take him in the 3rd or even the 4th round of your rookie drafts, and you should be taking someone who has way more upside than Ladd McConkey has, including any of the guys that Justin or I highlight in this video right up here.